Breaking alert from Hawaiian waters, Chinese surveillance ship 12 miles from Pearl Harbor, intelligence collection, naval base monitoring. This is happening now. It's 6:34 a.m. Hawaii time, 12 nautical miles south of Oahu, international waters, exactly 12 miles legal limit, territorial boundary, U.S. Coast Guard radar detects vessel, large ship, slow-moving, unusual profile, bristling with antennas, radar domes everywhere, electronic surveillance equipment visible, Chinese markings confirmed, Yuan Wang-class space tracking ship, officially anyway, actually intelligence collection platform, spy ship, electronic warfare vessel, communications intercept capability, everything monitored, everything recorded, everything analyzed, and it's sitting off Pearl Harbor, America's most important Pacific naval base, home of Pacific Fleet, submarine headquarters, carrier berthing, destroyer squadrons, everything naval, everything strategic, everything targeted, by Chinese surveillance, by Beijing intelligence, by Xi Jinping's eyes, watching, recording, learning, 12 miles from Pearl Harbor, legal distance, international waters, but provocative, extremely, maximally, intentionally. Navy alert monitoring this unprecedented intelligence operation, real-time coverage, breaking updates, Chinese spy ship, Pearl Harbor surveillance, strategic provocation. At 6:47 a.m., U.S. Navy responds. USS Lake Erie CG-70 Ticonderoga-class cruiser departing Pearl Harbor, orders clear, monitor Chinese vessel, maintain close surveillance, document activities, counterintelligence operation, shadow mission, American eyes on Chinese spies, watching watchers, recording recorders, intelligence versus intelligence, professional competition, strategic rivalry, through surveillance ships, through electronic warfare, through persistent monitoring, both sides playing, both sides collecting, both sides learning, off Pearl Harbor, off Hawaiian coast, off American territory, legal activity, international waters, but uncomfortable, concerning, threatening, because Pearl Harbor matters, Pacific Fleet critical, naval dominance essential, Chinese surveillance threatens, Beijing knowledge endangers, Xi information empowers, enemy learning American procedures, observing naval movements, recording submarine departures, tracking carrier operations, everything intelligence, everything valuable, everything strategic for future war, for possible conflict, for potential Taiwan crisis, Chinese preparing, always preparing, through surveillance, through collection, through persistent monitoring, including today, including here, including Pearl Harbor. Should Chinese ships surveil Pearl Harbor? Comment Y or N. Yuan Wang-6 designation confirmed, space tracking ship officially, missile test monitoring supposedly, but capabilities extensive, electronic intelligence, communications intercept, radar analysis, signals collection, everything espionage, everything intelligence, Chinese innovation, dual-use technology, civilian cover, military mission. This is Beijing strategy. This is PLA doctrine. This is Communist Party standard, through disguise, through deception, through technical truth, hiding operational reality, space tracking ship that spies, research vessel that surveils, scientific platform that collects military intelligence, everything dual use, everything deniable, everything legal, technically, international waters, permitted presence, authorized activity, but intelligence operation absolutely, espionage mission certainly, strategic collection definitely, against America, against Pearl Harbor, against Pacific Fleet, all targets, all monitored, all recorded, by Chinese ship, by Beijing intelligence, by Xi's surveillance, 12 miles from Pearl Harbor, close enough, dangerous enough, effective enough. Hit like if you support Pearl Harbor security. Chinese crew visible on deck, dozens of personnel. Technicians probably. Intelligence officers certainly. Communications specialists, electronic warfare experts, signals analysts. Everyone working, everyone collecting, everyone recording. Pearl Harbor visible, naval base clear, warships berthed, submarines alongside, carriers moored, destroyers docked, everything seen, everything photographed, everything cataloged, satellite imagery supplements, real-time observation ads, human intelligence completes, comprehensive picture, total understanding, Chinese building, through surveillance ship, through persistent monitoring, through legal espionage, international waters permit, maritime law allows, freedom of navigation enables, American principles, American values, American laws, now used against America by China, by adversary, by strategic competitor, through surveillance ship, through intelligence collection, through legal exploitation, of American openness, of democratic transparency, of rule of law commitment, everything weaponized, everything exploited, everything turned against, creator, defender, advocate, America, through Chinese surveillance, through Beijing intelligence, through communist exploitation. How long will Chinese ship remain? A, 24 hours, B, 1 week, C, 1 month. At 7:23 a.m., USS Lake Erie reaches Chinese vessel, takes position 1,000 yards away, close surveillance, visual monitoring, electronic countermeasures ready, American intelligence collecting 2, Chinese ship becomes target, surveillance becomes mutual, espionage reciprocal, both sides watching, both sides recording, both sides learning, professional competition, intelligence rivalry, strategic opposition, through ships, through equipment, through expert personnel, American capability substantial, technology superior, experience deep, training excellent, but Chinese improving, rapidly, consistently, gap closing, margin narrowing. Eventually equal, eventually superior, timeline uncertain, trajectory concerning, investment massive, progress real, capability growing, Chinese intelligence modernizing, technology advancing, personnel training, everything improving, through resources, through focus, through national commitment, Xi Jinping priority, Communist Party emphasis, PLA investment, everything concentrated on intelligence, on surveillance, on collection, against America, against allies, against everyone. Through spy ships, through satellites, through cyber operations, through human intelligence, through everything, all capabilities, all resources, all committed to understanding adversary, to preparing war, to enabling victory, Taiwan scenario probably, Pacific conflict possibly, global competition certainly, Chinese preparing, always preparing, through surveillance ships, through intelligence operations, through persistent monitoring, including today, including Pearl Harbor, including America's most strategic naval base. Navy alert sources confirm this is escalation. Previous Chinese surveillance ships maintain distance, 100 miles, 200 miles, respectful separation, professional distance, today different, today closer, 12 miles, legal minimum, maximum provocation. Why now? Taiwan tensions, Philippine disputes, South China Sea confrontations, everything escalating, Chinese confidence growing, American deterrence questioning, Beijing testing, through surveillance ship, through Pearl Harbor monitoring, through brazen provocation, legal but threatening, permitted but dangerous, authorized but strategic. International waters allow, American principles permit, but uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable, because Chinese watching, recording, learning, enemy surveillance, adversary intelligence, competitor collection, against Pearl Harbor, against Pacific Fleet, against American power, all observed, all recorded, all analyzed, for invasion planning, for conflict preparation, for war enabling, Taiwan probably, Philippines possibly, broader conflict eventually, Chinese preparing, through surveillance, through intelligence, through persistent monitoring, legal methods, strategic purpose, hostile intent, everything combined, everything concerning, everything threatening. Is this intelligence gathering or provocation? Comment yes or no. Hawaii residents notice, Chinese ship visible 12 miles offshore, telescopes reveal, antennas prominent, equipment obvious, spy ship undeniable, social media erupts, photos shared, concern expressed, anger voiced, Chinese spying on Pearl Harbor, Beijing watching our Navy, Xi surveilling Hawaii, public awareness, democratic transparency, open society, everything visible, everything discussed, everything debated, Chinese benefit, public discussion reveals, social media exposes, democratic openness informs, everything intelligence, everything valuable, everything collected by Chinese monitoring, American social media, public discussions, democratic debates, through open internet, through transparent society, through free speech, everything weapon, everything intelligence, everything exploited, American values, American principles, American culture used against America by China, by authoritarian state, by surveillance society that monitors own citizens, that censors own internet, that controls own information, now collecting American information through American openness, through democratic transparency, through freedom exploited for strategic advantage, for intelligence collection, for war preparation against America, against democracy, against freedom, irony bitter, reality harsh, strategic disadvantage of openness, of transparency, of democratic values, against closed society, against authoritarian state, against surveillance regime that uses freedom against free, that exploits openness against open, that weaponizes democracy against Democrats, through surveillance ships, through intelligence operations, through persistent monitoring, legal all, ethical none, strategic completely. If you want breaking naval news, type Navy alert below. USS Lake Erie maintains surveillance, cameras recording, sensors monitoring, intelligence collecting, reciprocal espionage, American capability, Navy intelligence, professional collection, Chinese ship photographed, equipment cataloged, antennas identified, radar systems analyzed, communications frequencies monitored, electronic signatures recorded, everything intelligence, everything valuable, everything archived for future operations, for electronic warfare, for signal jamming, for cyber attacks, if war comes, if conflict erupts, if Taiwan crisis explodes, American intelligence enables, Navy collection prepares, strategic surveillance arms for potential war, for possible conflict, for future confrontation, hope never comes, prepare if does, through intelligence, through monitoring, through collection, professional mission, strategic necessity, national security, requiring understanding adversary, demanding knowledge enemy, needing intelligence opponent, collected persistently, monitored continuously, analyzed constantly by Navy intelligence, by national security professionals, by dedicated personnel, protecting America, defending Pearl Harbor, securing Pacific Fleet, through intelligence, through surveillance, through persistent monitoring, against Chinese collection, against Beijing espionage, against Xi surveillance, mutual competition, reciprocal monitoring, strategic rivalry, both sides watching, both sides recording, both sides preparing, for war nobody wants, for conflict everyone prevents, for Taiwan crisis everyone fears, but preparing nonetheless, because hope insufficient, because deterrence requires capability, because security demands intelligence, collected continuously, analyzed thoroughly, exploited strategically. By noon, Chinese ship remains stationary, 12 miles offshore, still monitoring, still collecting, still recording. Pearl Harbor operations visible, morning departure, destroyer sailing, submarine submerging, carrier preparing, all observed, all noted, all intelligence, Chinese collecting, Beijing analyzing, PLA planning, for future operations, for Taiwan invasion, for Pacific War, using Pearl Harbor intelligence, using surveillance data, using collected information, for targeting, for planning, for tactical execution, if war comes, when war comes, Taiwan crisis, Pacific conflict, global confrontation, Chinese preparing, through intelligence, through surveillance, through this ship, 12 miles offshore, watching, recording, learning, legal activity, international waters, strategic espionage, everything combined, everything concerning, everything threatening, to Pearl Harbor, to Pacific Fleet, to American security, naval dominance questioned, strategic advantage challenged, power balance shifting, through Chinese persistence, through Beijing investment, through Xi determination, rising power, challenging hegemon, contesting dominance, through surveillance ships, through intelligence operations, through everything, including today, including Pearl Harbor, including America's most strategic location. How should America respond to this surveillance? Comment your prediction. Pentagon reviews options. What response, what action, what message? Legal ship, international waters, permitted presence, cannot expel, cannot force departure, cannot sink vessel, not legally, not morally, not strategically. So what? Monitor closely, collect intelligence, document thoroughly, but allow presence, permit surveillance, accept reality, Chinese ships, American waters, legal activity, strategic threat, new normal, uncomfortable normal, dangerous normal, but normal nonetheless, because international waters, because maritime law, because freedom of navigation, American principles, American advocacy, American law, now used by China against America, legal exploitation, strategic manipulation, principal weaponization, through surveillance ships, through intelligence vessels, through persistent monitoring of Pearl Harbor, of naval bases, of American power, legal all, comfortable none, acceptable reluctantly, because alternatives worse, because changing law affects America negatively, because maintaining principles costs strategically but necessary for international order, for maritime freedom, for global commerce, everything requiring open oceans, international waters, freedom of navigation, American interests, American power, American commerce, all dependent on maritime law, on international waters, on freedom principles, even when exploited, even when weaponized, even when uncomfortable, maintaining system, defending law, accepting costs, through Chinese surveillance, through strategic disadvantage, through uncomfortable reality, because changing rules hurts America more, because closed seas threaten commerce, because restricted waters endanger freedom, so accepting Chinese ships, allowing surveillance vessels, permitting intelligence collection, legal right, strategic threat, uncomfortable reality, American burden, superpower cost, hegemonic price, paid through discomfort, through vulnerability, through surveillance endured off Pearl Harbor, off Hawaiian coast, off American territory, 12 miles away, legal distance, strategic threat, permanent reality probably. Congressional reaction intense, Hawaii delegation outraged, senators demanding action, representatives calling for expulsion, Chinese spying on Pearl Harbor, Beijing watching our Navy, remove that ship, voices loud, demands clear, but options limited, legally constrained, strategically complicated because international waters, because maritime law, because American principles, all preventing forceful expulsion, all limiting response options, all accepting reality, Chinese surveillance, legal activity, strategic threat, Congress demanding, military explaining, administration defending, democracy messy, crisis ugly, but necessary process, civilian control, political oversight, democratic accountability, through congressional hearings, through public debates, through media coverage, everything transparent, everything discussed, everything intelligence for China, for Beijing, for Xi surveillance. American democracy observed, political debates monitored, congressional hearings recorded, everything collected, everything analyzed, everything exploited for understanding America, for predicting decisions, for planning operations, Chinese intelligence comprehensive, American openness enabling, democracy disadvantaged against autocracy, against censorship, against surveillance state that hides own debates, that censors own media, that controls own information, while collecting American information through open sources, through democratic transparency, through free society, everything weapon, everything advantage, everything strategic, Chinese benefit, American cost, democratic price, paid through openness, through transparency, through freedom, values maintained, costs accepted, disadvantages endured because alternatives worse, because closed society unacceptable, because authoritarian values rejected. Despite strategic costs, despite intelligence losses, despite surveillance endured, freedom maintained, democracy preserved, openness continued, American choice, democratic commitment, strategic price worth paying always, necessarily, despite costs, despite threats, despite Chinese surveillance, off Pearl Harbor, forever probably. Days pass, Chinese ship remains, week continues, still there, still monitoring, still collecting. 12 miles offshore, never moving, always watching. Permanent presence, ongoing operation, long-term surveillance, possibly, probably, increasingly, because Taiwan tensions persist, because Pacific competition continues, because strategic rivalry intensifies, Chinese intelligence required, surveillance necessary, collection essential, for invasion planning, for war preparation, for conflict execution, against Taiwan, against America, against Pacific Fleet, all requiring intelligence, all demanding surveillance, all needing collection, through spy ships, through persistent monitoring, through permanent presence, off Pearl Harbor, off Oahu, off Hawaii, legal station, strategic surveillance, permanent provocation, new reality, uncomfortable normal, accepted reluctantly, because alternatives unavailable, because options exhausted, because law permits, despite discomfort, despite threat, despite everything, Chinese ship remains, American ship monitors, both collecting, both watching, both preparing, for war nobody wants, for conflict everyone fears, for Taiwan crisis, for Pacific confrontation, for global competition, intensifying daily, escalating constantly, threatening continuously, through surveillance ships, through intelligence operations, through persistent monitoring, off Pearl Harbor, forever probably. This is great power competition. This is strategic rivalry. This is 21st century. Cold War returned, never left really, just transformed, now visible, off Pearl Harbor, through Chinese ship, through surveillance operation, through permanent presence, legal all, comfortable none, strategic completely, welcome to new normal, welcome to great power competition, welcome to Chinese surveillance. Off Pearl Harbor, off America, forever probably. Final status: Chinese surveillance ship Yuan Wang-6 positioned 12 miles off Pearl Harbor, international waters, legal presence, intelligence collection mission, naval base monitoring, Pearl Harbor surveillance, submarine departures observed, carrier operations recorded, destroyer movements tracked, everything intelligence, USS Lake Erie counter-surveillance, American monitoring reciprocal, both sides collecting, both sides watching, both sides preparing, congressional protests filed, diplomatic complaints lodged, military responses considered, but ship remains, legal right, international waters, freedom of navigation, American principles, used by China against America, strategic irony, democratic cost, superpower burden, accepting surveillance, enduring collection, permitting monitoring, because law allows, because principles require, because alternatives worse. Chinese ship stays. American discomfort continues. Pearl Harbor watched. Pacific Fleet monitored. Strategic intelligence collected. For Taiwan invasion. For Pacific War. For future conflict. Chinese preparing, always preparing. Through surveillance, through intelligence. Through this ship. 12 miles offshore, legal position, strategic threat, permanent probably. This is great power competition. This is Chinese rise. This is American challenge. Through surveillance ships, through intelligence operations, through legal exploitation of American principles, of democratic values, of open society, everything weaponized, everything strategic, everything threatening, forever probably. This is 21st century. This is new reality. This is America's burden. Superpower costs, hegemonic prices, paid through surveillance endured, through discomfort accepted, through threats tolerated, legal all, strategic completely. Welcome to future. Chinese surveillance, American disadvantage, democratic price, forever probably. The answer? C. Chinese surveillance ship will likely remain 1 month or longer. Long-term operation, permanent presence possibly, until Taiwan crisis, until Pacific War, until strategic situation changes. Monitoring continuously, collecting persistently, preparing constantly for conflict, for invasion, for war, against America, against Taiwan, against democracy, through surveillance, through intelligence, through this ship, off Pearl Harbor, forever probably. Should international law change to prevent this? Will Chinese surveillance continue? Can America stop intelligence collection? Hit like if you want real-time Pearl Harbor coverage. Subscribe to Navy Alert, where maritime news breaks first. Chinese surveillance, Pearl Harbor security, intelligence operations, Pacific Fleet, strategic competition, all covered, all reported, all analyzed. This is what we do. This is why we matter. This is Navy Alert.